Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special Prog Report podcast. We have a top 5 episode where we are going to tackle Symphony X, which is really exciting. And joining us is none other than the man himself, Michael Romeo. How you doing? How you doing, man?
I am chilling. I'm good.
Well, we're here to talk about not only Symphony X, but also his brand new solo record, War of the Worlds Part 2, which comes out on March 25th. And we're excited about that record. There's a couple of singles out now, which you can check out online on YouTube and streaming services and everything there. So check that out. And joining me is our good friend Daniel Levy, all the way from Brazil.
Hey, Roy. What's up, everyone? Thanks for having me back. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So as anybody that maybe has listened to the podcast before, Dan is our resident Symphony X expert. So of course we had to have him on this one to talk about one of his favorite all-time bands and a band that I'm sure a lot of our listeners love and are thrilled that we have you on, man. First of all, how's everything been treating you, pandemic wise, and how have you been doing?
Yeah. I mean, like all musician guys, it's been tough, man. It's been rough. Financially, it's a little rough. All these tours getting canceled.
Yeah.
I think for me and a lot of guys I talk to on the phone, a lot of musician friends of mine, I think too, it's this mental thing. And I talked to Russ last week. I talked to LaPon just the other day, and like we're trying to talk about, what are we gonna do for a new record? And we have a tour coming up. It's like, yeah, let's get things back to friggin' normal.
Right.
But I think all that time that has passed, it's the whole process just feels slower, and I think it's just from us not just doing band stuff. The last time that we played on stage was the end of 2019, right before this whole COVID thing. And then all those tours were canceled, and that's a letdown. And it's like, oh man, this sucks. And now things are getting better. And it's like, okay, we have this tour coming up in May. And fingers crossed that there's going to be no more shit with that.
Right.
But yeah, talking about ideas for a record. I'll come down here every day and I'm trying to come up with some riffs or some ideas, and it's just slower than normal. And I think it's just because trying to find inspiration and trying to think positive, and it's like trying to think positive, and then maybe I'll put the news on for a minute and I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, what the fuck's going on?
It's a challenge because you can get like burned out mentally, and then you go into your creative mode, but you cannot separate the two. So you're kind of thinking about all the shit that's going on and all that. So
Yeah.
I'm sure for like musicians, it's extra challenging.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like I said, a bunch of guys I talked to, they're kind of experiencing the same thing. It's like, it feels so long ago, like that it was a real thing. And now it's like, all right, now it's starting to come back. And I think creatively, it's like, this is going to take a minute. I mean, for me, it's taken a minute. It's like, okay. But I'm sure, like, just talking to the guys a lot, and we'll be on tour. And I think once all those normal things start happening and doing band things, just stupid shit, being on a bus, goofing around and all that nonsense, and the crowd reaction and all that, that makes the writing process a little easier. It makes you feel motivated, you feel inspired. It's like, oh, this is cool. And, oh, when we did this live, this part of the song really went over good. And what if we have a song now that has something like that? So like a lot of these things you're thinking about. And then when it doesn't happen for 2 years or whatever, it's like, oh shit, was I in a band? Didn't we do that? So, and then there's some guys that during the whole thing and lockdown and everything, they were super productive, just banging
Right.
stuff out. And I'm like, that's, God bless you, man. That's great. But there was a point where it's like, oh man, this is like kind of friggin' depressing a little bit. And not even depressing, just the uncertainty of like, all right, we're going to make plans and 2021 is going to be great. The tour's just going to get moved. And then it's like, oh, there goes that. And it was like,
Yeah, I think that was the real bummer because you felt like, all right, we're over 2020. 2021 is going to be, things are going to start to come back. And then when
Yeah.
everything crashed, then it really kind of sucked worse. It was really like, oh, goodness.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to happen. I think your tour, I think you have a good shot at it. I hope it happens. But
Yeah.
people are
oh, it's
playing
going to
out
happen
now,
no
and,
matter what.
you
I
know.
mean, yeah,
That's right.
there's no hope. And it's like,
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Good. That's great to hear. And Haken is joining you guys on that, right? So
Mhm,
that's
mhm.
exciting
Yeah.
too. We love
Yeah.
those guys. I
Yeah.
want to talk to you about the new record. You know, speaking of being productive and trying to write some music during this downtime, that's when this album happened. So, talk about just deciding to do it and what brought that on.
Um, well, the whole thing with the solo record, I think the first one I started or decided to do it in 2017, I think, kind of, and it was right, Russ had been in the accident, and we were definitely on downtime because, I mean, he went through that whole experience. And I remember talking to him, and he's just like, dude, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I got to think about all this because it's a freaking tragic thing. And it's like, yeah, I mean, dude, whatever, whatever you need to do. We'll take some time off, you know, clear your head and figure it out. So I was like, all right. So the band was kind of on hiatus there for a minute. And it's like, all right, well, at least, man, maybe I'll do a solo record. I have a couple ideas and maybe something more cinematic and I don't know, try some electronic stuff. Just trying something a little different. That'd be cool. So with that, I just started writing for months and months, and usually when I start, I can't stop, which sucks because that's usually how I am. If I start, it's like boom. Um, and I had way more stuff. A couple months go by, and I kind of look at what I had, and it's a stupid amount. It was a stupid amount of stuff. So I'm like, all right, there's no way I can do this in one record. So I'll take half now. I'll put half aside for whenever, whenever a cool time would be. So then, yeah, I did part one. And then 2019, we're touring, everything's good with Russ and the band. We were in Europe and everything was great. Then we had a tour for the States. I think it was like April 2020, maybe. So right in the beginning of 2020, it's like, okay, I got a little bit of time, a couple months before we start, getting back to it. Let me go look at the part two stuff. I could probably finish it because, like, yeah, a lot of it was done. So luckily, working on it and having some creative energy was before all the craziness really kicked in heavy. So yeah, started working on it early. Then I'm hearing about all this stuff, and the next thing you know, the tour's canceled. Um, Simone Molaroni in Italy, the guy helps me do the mixing and mastering. He can't get to his studio. That's locked down. Everything it's I mean what happened. So that whole schedule was off the rails. Um, but luckily, I was able to kind of get it done. I mean, the album's been done for about a year now. It's just been kind of sitting, and I think label maybe when's the best time and what's going on with this and just everything, any kind of schedule just goes off the rails, man. It's like everything was just like, what the hell, man? And like, how the hell are you supposed to organize your life and have some kind of a plan when it just keeps changing? But luckily the solo record was early on, so it wasn't affected by any of that. The tours, obviously, like we said, everything just got moved and then canceled, moved and canceled, moved and canceled.
Well, but glad to hear it's finally out. I have heard the album. It's great. And you got a new singer on. It's Dino Jelosic, right?
Yeah, Dino, yeah.
And so how did you get hooked up with him, and what is it like working with him?
Um, well, the whole idea with that, I knew on this one I wanted to try something different, with the vocals, and I thought maybe I could do like a different singer on every song, like that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I was like, ah, man, maybe that's not the right thing for me. And then I started thinking about other guys maybe I could have sing and who I knew, and and then I was talking to Simo, on the phone with Simo one day, and he was like, "Oh, let me just ask my buddy Dino. He would love to do it." And I was familiar with Dino a little bit, and I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So then we're sending some files back, and he's singing. I'm like, "Oh yeah, dude, this is like right on point." Right on point. So then it was like, phew, done.
Yeah,
And
no, he
just
kills it.
off
He's
to the
amazing.
races. Yeah, off to the races, and it was great.
Mhm. And one other thing I noticed, like a big aspect of this album is like the orchestral tones and the synthetic sounds. And you listen to both part one and part two, and you go back like 15 years or so and compare it to the Odyssey. The Odyssey sounds amazing still, but like the upgrade is like palpable. You can really hear it. So
It's the
How was it?
technology. Yeah, back then, I mean,
Yeah.
not just the technology, like all that orchestral stuff back then. I mean, it was okay. Not like what it is today. And like I was just dabbling in it then, and now it's like, okay, there's all these new libraries and there's all this, there's so much stuff that you could pull off a real believable thing.
Yeah, it sounds so realistic. It's
You
crazy. I
know,
know you got like different instruments in the album stuff, but like the synthetic sounds, they just sound like the real deal. It's great.
oh man,
Yeah.
thanks, dude. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of work. You got to work that stuff, man. You got to finesse that stuff in, and
Yeah.
but a little bit of time, and I've been doing it for a while, and it's like, okay, I know how to get the result I'm looking for. Just it takes a minute.
Mhm.
Right. When you're working on the solo material, outside of, not having the band Russell there and so on, but musically, do you approach it differently? Are you writing it differently than you normally do? How does it work for you?
Um, I mean, I think the big difference, like, if we're working on stuff for Symphony X, we know we have to play it live. So it's like, okay, um, and I think we learned that lesson on the Odyssey because we did the Odyssey and it's like all this stuff going on, and then it's like, all right, let's do this live, and it's like, oh shit. I mean,
Now we got to play
how's
it.
this gonna happen? So I just remember a lot of rehearsals, and oh, maybe I'll play this string part line, and maybe Pinella's doing this, and it took a minute. It took a minute. I mean, I think we got it now to where it's like, okay, it works. It still expresses the song. It's maybe instrument is different here and there, but it works. So like
Yeah.
with the solo record, you don't have to think about that. It's just like pile on whatever. Not just to pile it on, but if I'm hearing something, it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, this part needs 6 guitars, fine. If it needs an orchestra and there's 10 synth tracks and there's friggin' sound design and then there's a friggin' cello or there's some other wacky instrument in there, yeah, that's cool. I don't have to worry about it. You
Right.
know?
One of the things too is that this new record or the solo records really maintain kind of the heavier sound that Symphony X started to progress towards. Is that just where you are now as a writer, or do you see the band going back to maybe some of the earlier kind of neoclassical style, or it just goes where it goes? You don't really worry about it.
Yeah, man, I think it goes where it goes. I mean, the neoclassical stuff early on, I think like me and Pinella in the early years, I mean, that was like our common ground. Him being a classical piano guy, and and I liked all that stuff too. So I think that was like a real easy thing. It's like, oh, I got this thing, and it says Bach thing. It's like, oh yeah, I know that. Okay, oh, this song's done. Okay, but then I think over time, with even just talking about classical music, it's like, yeah, I was listening to different things that I didn't maybe appreciate back then. Probably when I was young, and if I heard the Rite of Springer, I'd just be like, oh my God, this sounds like noise. Now I listen to it, I'm like, this is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
And it just takes time, as you get older, you start to appreciate things. So, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, we always have that classical element, but maybe it's not so much of the Baroque. Maybe it's more now, it moved into like late romantic thing, or even some of this film thing, or where it's more epic and it's, um, how can I say, it's like more thematic, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just goes where it goes. And the heavy thing, I think that probably started on Paradise Lost. And
Yeah.
that was me just thinking, it's like, man, need some songs with some fire. And then I remember thinking, like, yeah, man, when I was young, when that new friggin' Priest record came out, or the new friggin' whatever came out, and it's like, oh man, that riff, and I just try to put myself back in that mindset. I remember Painkiller. Painkiller was a big thing that when Painkiller, that was a friggin' pretty heavy friggin' record for Priest.
Yeah.
Great riffs, and I'm like, damn. So yeah, from Paradise Lost, I think that was like, yeah, man, trying to find that thing that made me want to do it in the first place, and a lot of it is that Priest and
Mhm.
Sabbath, definitely Sabbath, some of that.
Yeah, so I think it's probably interesting for you because you have this tour coming up, which is the anniversary tour. So you probably revisited some of the older material, like to make a set list and to just know what you guys are gonna play. So what's up with the new tour? Are you bringing back some of the old stuff? Are you focusing what's
We have no idea.
You don't know yet?
We have no idea. Yeah, I mean, we got to start thinking about it because, like, I got to start practicing this stuff because
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember these.
Well, I
And
hope it's finally the sorry. I hope it's finally the time you guys release a live Blu-ray. Maybe I know the fans always wanted that, and I
does
hope
anybody
somehow it
even
can
buy
happen.
it? Does anybody even buy these things? I mean, that's the thing. It's like I wonder. It's like, we'll spend a shit ton of.
I still buy concert
I
Blu-rays.
I
That's
Oh,
buy
me,
I
but
buy
I
all
don't
the
know. Maybe
time
we're the
too. Yeah.
crazy ones that still do, but
I mean, I still buy records. Anytime there's a new record and it's a band I like, I buy the thing, and I just buy it, and that's me as a musician because I know
Mhm.
that money's gonna go in their pocket.
yeah.
So I always try to do or even shit. I mean, even if I see a movie and I think it's great, it's like, well, I like this movie and I want them to do more like this, and yeah, I'll buy it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta support the artists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Speaking of which, get the new Michael Romeo album,
yeah, please.
War of the Worlds Part Two.
Yeah.
Available for pre-order now. Comes out March 25th. Killer stuff. Again, there's a couple of singles, Divide and Conquer and Metamorphosis, which are both smashing songs.
And I think they're a good representation too.
Yeah.
Divide and Conquer is like, yeah, that kind of up tempo and it's kind of rocking, and Dino sounds great, and Metamorphosis, yeah, it's a little proggy. It's got a little bit, maybe a little nod to Rush. Definitely a
Mhm.
little
Yeah.
bit of that kind of thing. And then there's a
Yeah.
ton of cinematic stuff that's all on there that it's just me doing my thing and having
Yeah, I
fun.
like the opening
Yeah.
of track on there that leads into the song. It's really kind of dramatic and big and epic, and that stuff's cool, man. All right, so we're gonna jump into our top five Symphony X songs. Basically, God, we haven't done one of these in a while, Dan. I
Yeah,
think.
dude. Yeah, it's been a bit.
So what we'll do is we'll each just mention a song. Michael, how about you go first, and I'll go, and then Dan, you can go, and then we'll do number two, and then number three, and that about. And Mike, if you have any stories about them as we talk about them, we'd love to hear them.
Okay. I'll
And
try to remember. I don't
which,
remember what I did yesterday, but
yeah.
I'll try to remember, 20 years ago. I'll do my
That's right.
best.
So, you want to go first and just pick your
I'll go
first song
first.
to talk about?
I can throw something out there. I mean, does it have to be like one song? Does it have to be one song? Can it be like
The whole
I
As
five
opposed
record.
to an
I guess
album.
No,
there's
I
just
mean,
all right. I'll do one, but and it's from Divine Wings because I
Okay.
think that record, or maybe I'll just do three right now. No, 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 no. We'll do one. I think that record is the record that we kind of knew like what we were going to do. Like that was the start, I think, of everything because um, of Sins and Shadows, right? Yeah, I
Mhm.
love playing that live. It's still heavy. It's that thing, and that was the heavy side of the band. That was the riff, the guitar and the key, the soloing and all that stuff. Russ with the big melody on the chorus. There is a little bit of a classical thing in that song. So to me, that record in general is like the start of where we ended up. And I just have to throw in like Accolade and Divine Wings for that epic thing and where that was going to go, and Accolade where that was going to go with some of the
Yeah, I
acoustic
gotcha.
guitar and the progressive. But we'll just say Sins and Shadows for now because you want one.
Mhm.
Cool. Yeah, Accolade was on my short list as well.
Okay.
Dan, what do you
Yeah.
think of that one?
Like Absence and Shadows is one of the classics, right? I think it's probably for a bit there, it was your most well-known song.
Hmm.
And I'm sure like all the fans jump all over it every time it plays.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's
great
great,
pick.
great, great live. Sea of Lies
Mhm.
too, another great live. There's just
Hmm.
things about that record that felt like, yeah, this is what we're doing. This is where we're
Yeah.
going. It's like, yeah, there's the heavy thing, and then there's some of the progressive stuff, and then there's
Mhm.
some of this epic orchestral. Even though at that point it was like, just
Yeah, scratching the surface, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's
All
cool.
right, I'll go with mine. I'll say that I actually got into the band later on, um, and I kind of like the heavier era of as they call it of the group myself. So I'm actually gonna jump way further. It's all over the place, but for this one, for my first one, I'm gonna go with from Iconoclast. I'm gonna go Rain in Madness.
All right, cool, bro.
Wow. Great
Yeah,
pick,
which
man.
is the bonus
Hmm.
tracks or whatever. But I read somewhere that you actually called it what you thought was the actual correct closing of that record. Is that right?
I don't know what I did yesterday, bro, so I can't even tell you. I mean, but yeah, I could see, yeah, probably. Yeah, it is. It is, because I know, and it has that piece. I think there's a piece of divine in there. I think, no, 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 not that one. Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
I don't remember
No,
that.
but I just it has a great kind of chorus that comes in kind of a bit later in the song, which I really like. Very hooky, and it's a really heavy song, and a great way to close out that album. So
I mean, I think that's probably my favorite album overall.
really, that's
Iconoclast. I
interesting.
mean, the
Cool.
last one, Underworld, I love it
Underworld, yeah.
too. I love, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
those
love the
two.
sound of those albums. I think they're really great. The production is just
There's something
monstrous.
about Iconoclast, and there's some kind of aggression, like a cool aggression, not like,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
trying to be something. There's like this thing happening, and yeah, the
Yeah.
riffs and just the Russ singing, to me, that record, like Iconoclast, even the song, it just came out one day. It was like boom. I was like, oh, that rarely happens. So that
Yeah.
whole record was just like off to the races, man. Just
Yeah.
felt really good.
Very cool.
Yeah. I think that's a good one
Um,
too.
all right, Dan, what's your first pick?
Um, yeah, we're talking about Iconoclast, but I'm going all the way back. I'm going old school, and actually, most of my picks are from that older era, just because some of my favorite songs are from that era. But I still love the new stuff, and I think between all three of us, we will cover a lot of ground between all the different times and albums and all that. Anyways, I'm going with "The Edge of Forever"
Oh,
from
okay,
Damnation
yeah,
Gang.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's a pretty old one. I was 1 year old when this album came
Oh,
out.
dude, you're killing me here with this fucking age thing, dude.
Yeah,
Oh
so yeah,
no.
this is like the epic of the album. It's like a longer song and has twists
That's
and
funny.
turns, and the lyrics are great. And I think this song in specific, it went on like what you were saying with Divine Wings, Mike.
I
It
I
went on to shape a lot of how the band sounds today.
totally, yeah, dude, totally 100% right. Yeah,
And you
that.
can hear aspects of it in songs like Paradise Lost and Iconoclast, and you get like the counter rhythm, like dissonant chords that you da da da,
Yeah,
and that song like Comedian with the Oracle and Prometheus and so on. So a lot of these aspects they live on still.
yeah.
And I mean the way your guitars sound like when they're married with the piano, they always be one of my favorite aspects of the band's sound. And so yeah, I love this song, and it's a very important one in the band's history.
Yeah, no, that would be another one, like along with the Accolade, that thing with the acoustic guitar and the piano and and,
Mhm.
and some of the proggy thing, and it's kind of evolving into this other sections. Yeah, that one definitely. I like kind of put that in that class of like the Accolade, or maybe even Divine a
Mhm.
little, not as big as Divine, but
Yeah, I'll say this for every song. I'll warn you now, but I hope someday I can hear that one live.
okay.
He's
I mean,
gonna
I
make.
know we've done it. That's the thing, is like as you do more records, and it's like it's
It
hard
gets
to.
challenging. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
sure.
it's hard to put a set list together that has everything. It's like,
Yeah,
and
Mhm.
you always,
that's not 4 hours, right?
yeah, we always try to do like the new stuff, I mean, we do a record. It's like we're all about the new record all the time. So that's like the majority
Mhm.
of the show. And
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All
Yeah,
right.
no,
All right, Mike. What's your next pick?
where are we at?
We've each done one song, so
Oh, okay. Oh, geez.
this is number two.
All right. Okay.
technically number four. Nah, if you're going backwards.
All right. I'll make Divine one of them too. Then even though in the beginning I said yeah, I'll just say that song just because that like Edge, it was the beginning of all the stuff that came after it. Like that was like kind of like I guess the prototype of a big long song, and it's doing all these different things. And yeah, there is some classical stuff, and then there's some of the piano guitar stuff. Um, yeah, I'm gonna say that one because I know everything came from that Odyssey, all that. If that song didn't happen, then things would have been different. So to me, it's and again, talking about just at that point we're working on this stuff, and like it just felt like right. I remember being here with Russ, or not here, back in wherever the studio was back then, um, like maybe listening to parts of Divine or the Accolade and just like goosebumps. It's like, oh man, that is something about it. There's something magic about it, and this is where we're going now. So yeah, I'll say Divine because I think that had a big part
Yeah,
of
for
things to
sure.
come.
Yep.
I'll reserve my comments for a later moment in this podcast.
Okay.
Why? What's the matter? Well, go
Foreshadowing.
ahead.
Yeah, it's foreshadowing.
That just means he might pick it too.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll go with mine. Yeah, I'm staying modern, even more recent. But since you actually like the record too, I'm gonna go to Underworld. And
Oh
I'm
yeah,
gonna go
man.
with Legend.
All right.
Yeah, another just kick-ass riff song, heavy,
Oh,
not too
yeah.
long, but again, a killer hook in there, and really, really memorable. And God, I mean, I can't believe that that's 2015 now. That's a long time for you for you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you said you're talking about a new record. Is there any idea of, is it based on the tour happening that then maybe the writing starts then? Is that where you guys are at with something like that, or?
Nah, man. No, that's don't want to wait. I don't want to wait that long. Like I said, I'll come down here every morning and I'm looking for a riff and talking to the guys, going back and forth with ideas. And
Okay,
then
cool.
eventually, like we'll hit on something and it'll be like, yeah, that's the thing. Or
Right.
maybe no topic is the thing. It's just like whatever it's gonna be, it's gonna be. But yeah, if it just feels like so much slower and harder to kind of get the ball rolling. And I just talking to the guys too. It's like I could tell. It's like, yeah, man, there's this thing like just not having done band things for so long, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we're just gonna jump in the studio and be totally inspired. It's gonna be great. It's like, yeah, it's taking a minute.
Yeah. It's kind of like an athlete, right? That's been injured, comes back in the middle of the season, and they need a couple of weeks, right, to sort of
Yeah.
get back into
Yep.
game shape, as they call it, right? So
Hmm.
maybe it's not too off from that.
No, it's totally not. Yeah, and then being creative, it's like you can't just flip a switch and all of a sudden it's like, oh, here come all these ideas. It's like, oh man, okay, you got to find that thing that sparks it. And
Yeah.
then,
Mhm.
once that thing happens, it will just, it will start, rocking. It'll be fine.
All right, Dan, what's your next one?
So number 4, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I knew I wanted to pick something from the
Four?
Odyssey.
Are we on four?
Well, we go
Yeah.
backwards. Five,
Yeah, we
four,
go
three, two,
five,
one.
4. Yeah.
That was
All
four.
right.
So yeah.
So I knew I wanted to pick something from the Odyssey, and I also knew I didn't want to talk about the title track because I figured it was inevitable. Either of you would pick it, probably. So I wanted to pick something else, and I was between two songs, and one of them, the one I didn't pick, is a deep cut, and I'll quickly mention it as a honorable mention. It's Frontiers. Do you remember that one, Mike?
It was a bonus.
Yeah, that was a bonus Japan only song, and it's a badass track, and
Mm.
just wanted to bring that up. But my
Okay.
actual pick is Awakenings.
Okay, yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
so
All right, so
Awakenings is,
you like those songs and there's this acoustic and the
yeah,
piano and yeah,
exactly.
okay.
That's, we're like the prog report. We like the proggier things.
Oh yeah. That's all
No,
good. Yeah.
actually, like I love. Roy was just talking about Legend, and I love that
Mm,
song. I
yeah.
was just listening to it last week, I think, and a lot of Underworld and that kind of sound. I also love that. But Awaken is sort of like a mini Odyssey. Like it evolves in so many different ways, and it gets like emotional and heavy and progressive. And like the instrument bits are some of my favorites of the band. It's very
Mm,
creative.
okay.
I love how it emphasizes like the piano and bass, like you said, along with the guitars. I think is a prime example of a song that every member in the band shines.
Yeah.
And I hope I can hear it live one day.
That one. I don't know if we ever did that one live, but that song
Really?
again, I don't know. Did we? Maybe we did. Yeah, we might have.
Uh-huh.
We probably
Uh-huh.
we probably did.
Yeah.
But
That's
that one
cool.
again, yeah, coming like from the edge of forever thing and then into this accolade and then that's that progression. Totally that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yep.
Mhm. That's cool.
Okay, so this is gonna be your third pick, Mike.
All right, well,
3 more to go, including this one.
three more. All right, let's see. Hmm. If I say the Odyssey is like on everybody else's thing or
Nah, you can go for whatever,
It
man.
might be on mine, but it's okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely the Odyssey. Definitely the Odyssey. Because that was like kind of going for that whole thing as much as we could at the time. As much as we could at the time. And I think like Divine and even the Five record a little bit leading into that thing where where it's not so neoclassical Baroque style, but now it's starting to get into that um, late romantic kind of very thematic, big horns, and into like maybe the Williams, a little bit of Star Wars, and a little bit Bernard Herrmann and Jason and the Argonauts or something. It's kind of going into that realm, and the technology that was available at the time. It's like, yeah, I did my best with orchestration and stuff, and but that was the beginning of that thing. Those other songs led up to that one. And then from then on, it's always been a part. The band is.
It's a fan favorite. I think it's always on the set list, right? It's
Mm.
people love it. And how did you go with writing that one? Like, it's such a big track. How will you even start? How do you know this is for the Odyssey? This is for something else? What? How does it happen?
I don't remember what I did yesterday, bro. You
Okay.
asked me. I mean, no, something like that. No, honestly, no, I'm kidding. Honestly, um, and I think this goes to the whole idea of finding a theme for every record. I think for me anyway, it's super important because then you kind of have a goal. Iconoclast. It's like early on, it was like it's like, oh, let's do this man versus machine kind of thing. So I know it's like, all right, well, the guitar riffs are going to be pretty edgy, pretty heavy. There might be some kind of industrial loops. There's some things buried, not buried, but they're kind of tucked in, some textures. Um, some of the guitars maybe a little bit more gritty
Crunchy.
on the,
Yeah.
yeah, edgy is a good word. Even some of the
Mhm.
keyboard sounds a little bit more distorted. But if we didn't know that was going to be like a man and machine thing, it wouldn't have, you know, I wouldn't have gone down that road. It would have been something else. So like the Odyssey, same thing. It's like, okay, yeah, that record, yeah, there's a lot of different songs, but it was like, okay, looking back to Divine, it's like, yeah, maybe let's do something really big like that, and find some kind of classic thing that most people know, and always try to find something that's, not too obscure. I think most people would know the Odyssey or Paradise Lost or something like that. And then it was like, okay, yeah, okay, so here's the blueprint. It's like, here's the blueprint. It's like, okay, he does this, and this happens, and this happens, and that one is kind of more of like following the story thing. And then it's just a matter of filling in the music, you know. But if it wasn't Odyssey, if it was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna write this big long thing, it's like, well, about what? About
Right.
what? So
Yeah.
those kind of songs don't sometimes they don't take as long as as you would think. Like Iconoclast. I remember that first song. And it was like, oh, we do this man and machine thing. And I was talking to Russ, and like the next day it was like, bam,
It was
the
done.
first song, the first
Yeah.
song, And I remember sending it to Russ. He's like, dude, perfect. Don't touch nothing. Wow. It was like, sometimes it just happens. And I think it's because for me, it's like a kind of seeing that picture. We do the Odyssey, and I'm thinking of like, all this visual kind of stuff, and that helps too. So
Yeah.
yeah, it helps, man. I mean, yeah, things do take a long time. They do take time. But I think when you have that thing, it's like something
Mhm.
like the Odyssey. It's not like, oh, I'll take this piece and I had this laying around. It's like, no, this all has to go in order.
Ah, that's cool. That's cool to know.
You talk a lot about influences from orchestration and movies, soundtracks, and stuff like that, in a lot of this. But have you ever thought about scoring something? You're like just doing movie soundtracks and
I,
stuff. Is that something you
I've
do?
done a few, yeah. Low budget horror movies and actually some stuff for network TV.
Oh, cool.
I
I didn't
kind
know
of got
that.
my hands on little things. I mean, I know some composer guys that like that's their real gig, and like maybe they'll pull me on to arrange something or do some orchestration on something if they're behind schedule and that kind of stuff. So yeah,
That's awesome.
I
That'd be
dabble. I mean,
fun.
and it's fun thing too because it's like
Yeah.
so used to like Metal World and which is freaking awesome. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes just stepping away and it's like, oh, here's this goofy cartoon thing. Can you do something with this? And it's like, yeah, I guess. And you kind of do it. And it's like, oh, that was cool. And then you go back over here and it's like a kind of, all right, now I'm back to my comfort zone, you know?
Right.
So
Mhm.
it's cool to kind of do different things.
Yeah, that's got to be fun. That's really cool. All right, so I'm gonna go with my third pick. Yeah, curious what you think about this one, but I think it's a pretty, popular song among the fans or whatever. But Communion and the Oracle.
Okay, there's another one that, yeah.
But that's in that style that you've been talking about throughout this podcast. Yeah, I just love this one. The vocal parts in it, I think, are
Mm,
really cool. Sort of in the middle of the song, that how it starts to build a little bit. Very different sounding for you guys. I really like that style on this one.
yeah, I didn't think
Yeah.
about that one. That I probably would have put that on
Hmm.
too, because that again, coming from the Edge of Forever thing, and that thing, and that one even more so. Yeah, there's all these vocal harmonies, and that record, yeah, kind of dabbling all around with the orchestral thing, and those, I mean, it was like keyboard sounds or whatever at the time that we had. So I'm not crazy about the orchestral sounding, but it makes its point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It still speaks. It still it does what it needs to do. But
Yeah.
yeah, Communion, man, that's like, yeah, there's some great harmonies. Russ singing sounds awesome, and again the piano and the guitar and these ups and downs and these little
Mhm.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Communion was actually the first prog song I heard in my life. My friend Igor showed me it, and I fell in love with it. And then I listened to some Dream Theater stuff and became a
Yeah.
fan too.
Yeah.
And then it led me to know all these guys and be on this website. So it's because of this one song.
There you go.
It's funny how life goes, but and continuing on to like with my pick,
Yeah.
it's also from five, but I'm picking Rediscovery. Um,
Wow.
the
Okay. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
last one, yeah, it's the big one. It's like the part one is like an awesome like synth intro, and part two is the big boy song of the album. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this one is used to be Twilight in Olympus, right? The song Twilight in Olympus.
Yeah. Again, I don't remember what I
You
did
don't remember,
yesterday.
yeah, but
No,
I
but I do. No, no,
remember.
no, 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 no. I do remember this. I do remember this because I do remember with Twilight, the schedule getting, under the gun and whatever was happening. And, we always take forever anyway, and everything's always friggin' late. And there was going to be a track that was that kind of thing, the longer thing.
Mhm.
And we didn't, we didn't do it. We didn't finish it. And then that whole five record, it's like pieces of it everywhere.
Oh,
Probably
okay.
that song, probably in particular. But yeah, some of the themes they were already kind of for that thing, and they became like the theme for like whatever the this song or this thing in little
Mhm.
pieces. So yeah, I do remember that.
That's cool.
Believe it or
Five
not.
is actually one of my favorite albums ever, and I love it. Even with the you're saying like the you don't really love the sounds that it has, the keyboard stuff, but to me it sounds nostalgic and it sounds still great.
Yeah.
And this song in particular, it's like so syncopated and there's like this crazy rhythms all over the place. And I love that kind of stuff. And it does not really have a structure, you know. It goes on, it doesn't have like an instrumental break in the middle, like other longer songs. It just goes and then you have like vocal sections and then more instrumental stuff, and it goes everywhere. And I think it's really cool for that. It's very unique.
I haven't listened to that in a while. I'm gonna have to listen to that now
Yeah.
because it's
Try
been a
it. You might
while.
like it. It's my personal recommendation to
You
you.
might
Okay,
like
well, thank you, man. Thanks, man.
it. I wrote it, but you might like it.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. Okay, your fourth pick, Michael.
Mine.
Yeah.
Uh, hmm. Definitely something from Paradise Lost. I think Paradise Lost, that heavy, getting back to that, like you were saying before, back to when I was a kid, the things that made me excited. Here's this new record, and oh man, that fucking riff is amazing. And then Paradise Lost became that, like the riffs, very, kind of thought out, but identifiable. The whole record as a whole, a little more aggressive. I'll just say, like, set the world on fire. Right out of the gate, it was like, okay, it still has a lot of what we normally do, the keyboard thing, but it's mixed little. I mean, the blending of the instruments. It's like, yeah, there is a little bit of that harpsichord thing that we might have done, or that we did do early on, but now it's something different about it, and the guitar is doing it too, and then maybe there's another synth under it, and then it's definitely heavier, and it kicks in, and the guitar riff's a little different. And Russ is singing a little more aggressive. So yeah, to me that, I'll say Set the World, because that was one of
Yeah.
those ones where it's like, okay, here we go. This is what this record's going to be like.
Yeah, Paradise Lost was a big album for you guys, I think, right?
Yeah, that
And
really did. And I think that's why. I mean, it was like, yeah, it was the normal thing we do. The production was definitely way better. You know, the
Mhm.
production, stepping up
Yeah,
the
it sounds
production.
great.
Um, and I think for me, paying attention to like more to the songwriting and the arrangement of the stuff. And yeah, it could be progressive, but like Rush, where it's progressive and you're not really sure it's progressive because it's still like, oh, this is catchy, and it's like, oh, this is in seven. Oh yeah, holy shit.
Mhm. Yeah.
Some of that mentality going into it too. So it's like, yeah, man, it's going to be heavy and it'll be progressive and have all these things, but it still has to have that listenability that
Mhm.
and then of course, yeah, it could have wacky stuff that just comes out of left field, because that's
Mhm.
cool too.
Right. Well, I'm gonna stick with that album, but ironically, I'm not gonna go kind of heavy.
I
I'm
don't know
gonna
where
go
you're
with the
going,
title
man.
track,
Yeah, yeah.
which is, I think, my favorite chorus from the band. It's so cool, and I kind of like that sometimes when a song goes one way, and then the chorus is just like a complete shift. It's like different. Instead of doing the go loud and aggressive, it kind of goes down. And I love the way Russ sings on that one. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And
Mhm.
that song also has a little bit of like a Kansas vibe to me. Is
To-
that
And I think Accolade and all those ones before it, and Edge, and Accolade, and Communion, and Paradise Lost, the song, absolutely. I mean,
are you a big fan? Or was
oh
that
God, yeah, dude, I'm,
because
you know,
yeah, the piano thing in the beginning and sort of the
totally
bell. Yeah, it's
Kansas. It's
very Kansas.
I love Kansas, and like Rush, Kansas, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I love all that, and that's where a lot of that came from. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, definitely.
very cool. That song's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
almost was my
indeed.
number one, but
Okay,
it's
no, that's that. If we were talking about Paradise Lost, that would probably be, between Set the World and that one. I think, but they're so different. But I think they're
yeah,
equally have their
Mhm.
strength that make that
I
album
agree.
what it is.
yeah. All right, Dan.
Number two is Through the Looking Glass for me.
Another one. He's going with those kind of tunes.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we're covering a lot of ground. I'm just taking care of my bit here,
Okay,
and
no,
I
it's
I think this might be the proggiest Symphony X song in some ways. What do you think? Like it's extremely melodic, and he's got like all these repeating themes and transforming motifs and all that good stuff. Like this album also had a different drummer. I
oh
don't
yeah,
really
yeah.
remember why, but he did some very cool creative stuff with that. And this is like the song like I always recommend to people that are more into prog
Mm.
than metal, and they ask about Symphony X and you go, hey, listen to this one. It's an easy listen. It's fun to listen to. It goes to a bunch of different places, but it's very approachable. And, it might be long, but it's very approachable. And that's what she said. But anyways, a song about Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
that's what it was, kind of about. And again, trying to find something,
mhm,
as we knew we wanted something, maybe a longer track that had like a couple of movements, and then it was like, okay, looking back at some of the previous things, it's like, all right, maybe instead of just doing one big whole song, maybe like kind of looking at it as like three little movements like that.
mhm.
So it was like, okay, we're gonna do this kind of thing, and it'd be like kind of three movements, and this part maybe the
Yeah,
more melodic thing, and then the middle is going to kind of come down, and then the end is going to be this heavy riff, and it's a little bit, time signature wise, it's a little, bounce.
this last riff, I think it might be my favorite one you wrote. The da da
Wow.
da da da. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah, man, yeah. But that's
yeah.
like that song. It's like, okay, little bits of everything. It's like, yeah, the melodic thing and little proggy, and then the
Mhm,
middle coming down, and then the end, it's like, yeah, you have this riff, and it's like a little
mhm,
heavier, and it's a little more. different time signatures and that kind of thing. So
Yeah, the album has stuff like that, like Smoke and Mirrors, Church of the Machine.
mm.
Those kinds of songs also have stuff like changing all the time. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Hey, your last pick, Mike.
Oh boy, here we go. Um, I forgot what I said already. Let me think.
So you have Of Sins and
No, I know
Shadows.
that. I'm kidding. I mean, I
Okay.
have this COVID time warp, but I remember this stuff. It's definitely going to be something from Underworld because that record too. And I remember when we started working on it, and it was like, okay, Paradise Lost and Iconoclast definitely heavy in the riff department, and there's even some kind of thrashy stuff happening on which I love. I mean, I love it. And then for Underworld, it was like, yeah, let's keep some of the heavy stuff, but then let's revisit. There's some things on there that, to me, remind me of the earlier, some of the earlier stuff, and it was on purpose, trying to infuse all those different errors into things. So, oh man, I'm trying to think which, like song like Without You would be in that category with like the Communion or Accolade kind of thing. But I'm gonna say Nevermore just because like the guitar never stops going and
Yeah.
that's cool. That's like that's like my warm up song because it's just like relentless 16 notes forever.
It's funny how like not a lot of bands can do like a chorus where like the guitar player is doing just tapping crazy stuff like doing it's insane. Great pick. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, Without You is a really good song as well. I mean, that's really
Yeah,
well done.
yeah. I mean,
I
it's
like
got a
that album's great, man. I hope that we get something soon because it was really like I was
yeah.
really liking the sound of what was going on there.
Yeah, there was
Mhm.
definitely things with that record that, yeah, on purpose, trying to like pull back some of the older stuff, you know,
Mhm.
and still do something new, and like, a song like, and that's why I think a song like Nevermore, it's like, yeah, this guitar is just going in the chorus, it's just going, like, never did anything like that really before. So it's like, okay, here's some new stuff, and yeah, this is still heavy, and the riff is freaking heavy. Um, and then something like Without You, where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just like kind of very melodic, kind of, I don't want to say poppy, but very uh, accessible chorus to
Yeah.
anybody listening. It's like, oh yeah, man, I just feel this thing, and Russ sang it, freaking great.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, that record, there was a lot of those moments where it's like, oh yeah, this is like really cool.
Yeah.
Like Divine had, or like Paradise Lost had. That one had some of those moments.
That's awesome, man. Thanks. That was great. Five great picks. I did have on my list for my number one a repeat. I'm gonna stick with it because I think it's worth it. It was gonna be the Odyssey, so that's my number one. Being the Prog Report, we gotta give props to the proggiest thing. um,
The
but uh,
longest song.
but
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's always, we always gravitate towards these long 20-minute epics or, whatever. And that's always like you look at the track listing and you see that and you go, oh, well, that's got to be good because it's long.
Yeah.
But it's not always the case, and it has to have, like you said, a purpose, a story, where everything works together. And there's the ups and downs with it, or that all seem to work. And when it works, it's brilliant, and so that is where this song is. And I mean, I like the opening acoustic bit. It's just really cool, and you have no idea where the song is going from that point on, and it's all
Mm.
sorts of places. So
And the other thing
um,
too, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I remember when we were all done with it and listening to it, and it's like, all right, let's just see what we got here. And you're listening to it, and then it ends, and I'm like, wow, that was cool. That felt like 5 minutes.
right.
Yeah. It
No,
goes
like I
by.
remember that, like it struck me, like it's like, oh, this doesn't feel like there's any like, oh, let's fucking go already with this part. It
Mhm.
always felt like it's moving, it's propelling forward always. Even
Yeah.
if it comes down, it's like, all right, well, what's gonna happen next? And then boom, you're into this other thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like longer songs where 4 minutes in the middle is just a keyboard swell. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it has a 7-minute intro of like one note before the song got going. So now it's 20 minutes.
I'll make
But I
sure on
mean,
the next record we do that just for you, bro. It's gonna be like fucking
that's the edit
18
button.
minute,
Edit
eight,
button.
yeah, 18 minutes. Wow, 18
Uh,
minutes.
the best Symphony X
Cut that
song
off.
ever. Yeah.
All right, Dan, your last pick.
Okay, so obviously I was gonna pick Divine Wings, right? But I'm pulling the old switcheroo here because
Oh, okay.
Mike talked about it, and everyone who listens to this knows that I love that song, and I talked about it just last month, I think, on another podcast. So I'll I'll save it for another time. I think we gotta pick something from Iconoclast, and I'm thinking
Well, I did
between
one. I picked Rain and Madness.
no, but no, yeah, good pick, right? I was thinking we didn't, but I'm thinking between the title track or When All Is Lost, which is another one of my favorites. But for the sake of variety, I'll go with the title track because I
Yeah, there
think
you
my
go.
other ones are not as heavy and like edgy as this one. And I think this song is awesome. It's the chorus is super hooky.
Mm.
You get with it for days in your mind, and
No,
it's
thanks, dude. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
a
the
great song.
that's the
Well, that's a
goal.
great opening
Strong.
track. I
Yeah,
mean, that's just a killer. Yeah.
and like, can you like, this is a song that's guaranteed for if you play live, people are gonna love it, and it's gonna like start with good energy because it has like every song that has like the crowd cheering and that stuff. It's asking for it to be played live, so that's definitely a great pick and in set list and whatever. I think it's a song that's up there with all of your best ones. Um,
Mm.
and definitely one that everyone that if you want to get more familiar with Symphony X, that's one you got to know. And yeah, Iconoclast.
That definitely
Like,
has. It does have a little of everything. It's
mhm.
definitely just the opening thing. It's proggy, and the timing is like
Yeah, it's insane.
friggin' insane.
Yep.
But then, yeah, it settles into the riff, and then we're into a verse, and the chorus has that thing, and it's cool. And
Mhm.
then, the
Yeah,
solo is
and it
ridiculous,
and
and
it's very like heavy and aggressive, but it's not like needlessly edgy. It doesn't go like, yeah, we are evil. It has the theme. It's like the Odyssey. The Odyssey has a thing that it's, if you don't know what it is about, it's a great song and you can listen to it, but it's more rewarding if you're invested into the story and you match the themes with what's happening musically. I think that's also true for Iconoclast as
mm,
well.
Yep.
yeah. And that was
Uh,
one of those ones that just kind of, boom, and it happened so
Mhm.
fast, and it was because, yeah, it's like, okay, let's do this man and machine thing, as we were saying, man and machine thing, and this, right to me right away, it's like, man, it's gonna be edgy, it's gonna be a little more aggressive, it's gonna be a little, um, how can I say, with the time signatures, like a little uneven, a little unsettling with all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So all that, and then that song was like, bam, happened really
Yeah.
fast, which doesn't happen often.
Mhm.
awesome. Hey, man, thanks. This was a lot of fun. I hope
You
we
know what
refreshed your
sucks?
memory about some
Wait,
songs.
you know what sucks, dude? I'm gonna tell you what sucks
What's
about
that?
this right now. We're gonna get done, and I'm gonna go look at go pull out my old, my Symphony
Ah,
X
I
CDs.
wanted to pick that
Why
one.
didn't I fucking bring up the song?
I told you.
Yeah, dude. This always happens. Yeah, you're right.
No, yeah, we always think about some songs later, but it's fun. It's fun revisiting these things
Yeah, no,
and
that's
getting to
actually
talk
this is
about it.
very cool, and yeah, I mean now some of them I haven't heard in a while. It's like I might have to go back and
Mhm.
kind of refresh my memory. But
But
no, it's cool, man. I think we talked about a lot of cool different ones, man, and the
absolutely,
heavy stuff, and then the lighter proggy, and then just the more
Mhm.
melodic and the vocal thing, and just everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. Great stuff. Thanks for writing such killer tunes. And again, let's just shout out again to the new solo record, War of the Worlds
Mm.
Part Two. Comes out March 25th. Please check it out. Get it.
Mhm.
Support this guy. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
go see Symphony X on tour with Haken. I mean, what could be better than that? That's going to be fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
dude.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll be there. Everyone's gonna be there. Everyone's gonna have the new record. It's gonna be fun.
yeah, I'm
Yep.
hoping. I mean, everything's looking good now, but that's the thing. Like, who the hell knows? So fingers are crossed, and yeah, no shit, dude. I mean, I'm with you 100%. I think we're good because I'm seeing bands here, a lot of stuff. People are touring.
Yeah.
Listen, Dan's coming to the States from Brazil to see your show. That's it. That's why he's coming.
then I
No
hope
pressure.
then it
Nah,
can't
yeah,
get. It's like I said before. Oh, it's gonna happen, dude. Don't worry. No matter what. You know?
Yeah, I'm flying over to see like 3 or 4 shows, different bands. I mean, one of them's I gotta get lucky with at least one.
No.
Something's gonna happen.
No, I
yeah.
think as like we get into the spring and stuff, I'm thinking trying to get this whole COVID thing kind of under control and
Yeah.
just where like we can have kind of a little bit of normal stuff kind of back to it is what it is. We're gonna have to live with this thing and hopefully somebody will figure it out. But yeah, for bands it's like crushing. So I'm trying to be positive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, man. We'll let you go. Thanks again.
All right,
And
guys.
we'll see you soon,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
It
man.
was
Good,
fun.
yeah, good hang, dude. Good stuff. I'm gonna go look at that record now and be like, why didn't I freaking talk about
All
that?
right.
That is awesome. Thanks everyone for
We'll see
listening.
you later, man.
Yes.